I'm trying to make videos like closer together rather than a week apart, but I'm in the process of moving, so it's kind of difficult with work and all that. But anyway, in today's video, I am going to be teaching you guys how to keep your bearded dragon healthy. So how to keep your bearded dragon in Fitz shape, because Fitz is healthy. Alright, so two of the main things you want to look out for when you get a bearded dragon is their protein and calcium intake. Protein and calcium is very important for your bearded dragon, especially when they're growing up and even in adulthood, to keep their bones and muscles nice and strong. So everyone knows of metabolic bone disease. If you do your research before you get a bearded dragon, you know metabolic bone disease is a deadly disease to them, and I'm pretty sure it's the leading cause of their death. I don't know, that was just some scientific fact I made up, but hopefully it's the case, right? You want to watch their calcium intake. As long as their calcium is good, make sure you don't overdose them on calcium though, then you should be fine. You want to make sure their calcium's good, so you want to sprinkle their food with calcium and the insects you feed them. And also for calcium, you want to make sure you have a UVB light, so that's usually the blue thing in the middle or the tube on top of everyone's tank with bearded dragons. That's what helps them utilize the calcium that you're giving them through their food. And protein, even humans need protein. It's just a natural thing that you need to be healthy and strong. Protein is all in the insects. That's why insects have to be like a good insect to feed your bearded dragon, because they really don't get much protein from fruits and vegetables. That's why you want to watch out for insects, especially superworms, dubia roaches, crickets are the best insects you can feed them. As of right now, I think phoenix worms or silkworms are a little higher than superworms. Superworms are just fatty, but crickets and dubia roaches are great in protein, so make sure their protein and calcium levels are a-okay. The next thing you're going to want to do to keep your bearded dragon healthy is provide fresh vegetables every day. There was this one video I had where I was bearded dragon owner problems, and I threw collard greens at Fitz and they were like kind of rotten. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I can't keep up with it all the time. So someone was like, I wouldn't eat those rotten greens either. I was like, oh my goodness. But you know, if I don't have collard greens, I usually have mustard greens or kale, very rarely on backup to feed Fitz. So you want to make sure you're providing fresh vegetables daily to your bearded dragons. I definitely provide Fitz fresh vegetables every day just in case she wants some, and that's pretty much how I keep her in a tip-top shape, because it's better feeding them. That's probably why Fitz is so big, because my motto is like, it's better feeding them more than starving them, you know? The next thing you're going to want to look out for is your water dish. So make sure you always have a water dish in your bearded dragon's tank. Some of them like to drink in it, some of them like to swim in it, so just make sure you always have that so you can keep them nice and hydrated, because even though they are desert animals, they can get dehydrated because of the heat. Another thing you want to make sure to keep your bearded dragon healthy is make sure they get some exercise. So take them out often. I take Fitz out about every day and make sure she gets her exercise. If your tank's, you know, humongous, then that's not really necessary every day, maybe every other day, but Fitz's tank is kind of small. As you guys can see, it's a 40-gallon breeder. I'm actually going to change my requirements. Like, I don't really recommend one of those for an adult minimum. Even though it is the minimum, it's like small. Fitz is definitely outgrowing it, so I'm upgrading her new tank when we move, so I can't wait to show you guys that one. But if they're in a smaller tank like mine, or the minimum tank requirements, you're going to want to make sure they get out, because they can't really do much exercise in there. So you want to make sure you have them run around the room, maybe leave treats every so often to get them going. The next thing you're going to want to do to keep your bearded dragon healthy is to make sure you nurture them. So yes, love is a part of health, guys. In high school, I took a psychology class and we had like a debate of nature versus nurture. It's all about how you raise them, you know? It's like you want to love them. You want to make sure they're social. You want to make sure they feel good. You want to make sure they feel loved. Love supports mental health. You just want to make sure, you know, they know that you love them. Where am I going with this? I don't know, but make sure you love them, obviously. The next thing to make sure your bearded dragon is healthy is make sure the temperatures in their tank is okay. So a basking light is vital to a bearded dragon's health. This helps them digest the food properly and helps keep them warm, because they are cold-blooded animals. So you want to make sure the temperatures are in the right range. You want to make sure you have a cool side, which ranges from 80 to 90 degrees-ish, and then you want to make sure you have a hotter side, which stays in like the hundreds, but no higher than 110. Another thing, which I already touched base on, is make sure you have a big enough tank for them. So I see a lot of bearded dragons, adult bearded dragons, like on Craigslist, on YouTube, on Instagram, everywhere, are in these small cages. That is very bad, because it's actually stunning their growth. So your bearded dragon is not going to get full sized if they're in a smaller tank. So you always want to make sure you have the minimum tank requirements. And you don't even have to have the minimum tank, the bigger the better. If you want to have a baby bearded dragon and let him roam the house like a dog, be my guest. But I mean, not really, don't do that. Okay, so the next thing is just for basically your peace of mind. So what you can do to make sure your bearded dragon is healthy is get them checked up. So I don't really get Fitz checked up like that. This is more so I recommend it to you guys. If you have that kind of mindset, like you have a really anxious mindset, or you're always worried about, you know, the health of your animals, which I definitely am, then I highly recommend getting them checkups. So you can get your bearded dragon checked up maybe once a year. I think some people do it every 6 months or so, and just make sure they're good. And that way you can have a professional tell you if you need to change anything with their diet or do anything different with them to ensure that they are healthy. The next thing you're going to want to do to ensure your bearded dragon is extra healthy is you want to monitor their behavior always. So bearded dragons, you know, people may say they're hardy. They are kind of hardy, but that's no excuse for not monitoring their behavior and making sure they're okay. So if they're acting lethargic or a loss of appetite or anything beyond those abnormal behaviors, then I definitely recommend getting them checked out. It's not just something you can leave your bearded dragon and you don't need to like focus on them. Every time your bearded dragon has a loss of appetite, I must say this in every video, but every time your bearded dragon has a loss of appetite or they're tired, be very careful, because you don't want to go to the vet and just have them tell you they're going through brumation or they're shedding and then just waste your money, because that's what I've done. Thanks, Fitz. So shedding, obviously you could tell if they're getting duller in color, and then for the brumation, if it's getting colder in your house or colder outside, it's natural for them to feel that way because they feel like they have to hide. But again, I'm not a brumation specialist. I know everything like the back of my hand about a bearded dragon about brumation, so don't go to me for that one. Find someone else's channel. I'll find out some way or another. If you want to look out for things that's unhealthy in a bearded dragon, you want to look out for more discharge coming from nose, or if they're like their fecal matter has blood in it or worms, that's when you would want to bring them to a vet. So always monitor their health. So this was pretty much the basics of keeping your bearded dragon healthy, the main factors. Obviously there is so much to keeping your bearded dragon healthy, but these are a few of my tips. I hope you guys took some information out of this video, and thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. If you have any healthy tips, make sure you leave them down below. See ya!